everyone. Welcome back to my astrology channel. Now, today I just wanted to talk about the month of September. Now, before I begin that, I want to thank everyone for all your kindness, all your support, and the likes, the comments, the subscription and all that. So thank you very much for all your support. Now, obviously, the ones who have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do, because that's going to help me, grow this channel. So let's begin. September, the month of September 2023. Now we are pretty much done with more than half the year. So we are in the last quarter, September, October, November, December still to go. So the month of September, usually at this time of the year, the planets are retrograde. So this is not anything new, but it's not a rare occurrence, it happens. But in the month of September, especially, there would be 6 planets in retrograde motion. Now, in the month of August, we had Venus retrograde, and Mercury turned retrograde on the 23rd of August, will be turning. So in the month of September, it will be retrograde for half the month. So until 15th of September, Mercury will be in a retrograde motion. Now, Venus will be retrograde until 3rd of September. So the energy of retrograde Venus will be diminishing after that. Now, on the 4th of September, Jupiter turns retrograde in the sign of Taurus. So Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Virgo, and Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And also Saturn is already retrograde. Now, Saturn turned retrograde a few months back. In the month of June, on the 17th of June, it turned retrograde and will be retrograde until 4th of November. So in the month of September, it's very much in a retrograde motion. Now, besides these personal and social planets, all the other planets, the transpersonal planets, namely Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all 3 of them are in a retrograde motion as well. Now, this is not something rare. It happens. Transpersonal planets are retrograde for half the year anyways. So the energy of transpersonal planets, it does not affect our lives directly, as in it does not personally has much effect on our personal existence unless it makes an impact or make a contact with the personal planets, personal natal planets, or our angles. It does not really affect as much because it's more generational energy, it's more of collective energy. Now, obviously, we are part of the collective, so consciously or subconsciously, we kind of do make sometimes some life decisions, not personal decisions, but some decisions are made based on the collective conscience as well. So in that sense, yes, the energy of these transpersonal planets will be important as well. Now, the effect of these transpersonal planets is more like a backdrop. Energy is kind of happening in your life, but it's more like an underlying theme. It's not at the forefront. But the personal planets, namely Mercury, we'll see the effect, we'll feel the effect of Mercury, starting 23rd of August, but in September, it's going to be very strong. And there's Jupiter and Saturn, social planets as well. So I'm just going to go through the energies of these retrograde planets, how you can experience these energies. So I'm just going to first begin with Mercury in Virgo. Now, Virgo sign, Mars is also in the sign of Virgo during this time, though it's not in a retrograde motion, but it is in the sign of Virgo, and Sun is also in the sign of Virgo in the first 2 weeks of September because it's Virgo season. So there's a lot of Virgo energy going on, especially in the first 2, in fact, the whole month of September, because Mars will be in Virgo entire month, Sun will be until the 22nd, 23rd, and first 2 weeks Mercury will be there. But with this retrograde energy of Mercury in Virgo can make us feel a bit scattered, because Virgo is a mutable sign. And even though Mercury is in a good position in Virgo, means it's efficient in here, it functions well, but Virgo is a kind of an overthinker and, can be scattered as well, because it's focused on analyzing, being diverse and all that. So here the Mercury energy can feel a bit scattered. So Mercury is our communication and our connection, the way we connect, the way we share our ideas, the way we communicate our ideas and all that. So it can feel a bit kind of pulled in all direction. The way we are communicating, the way we are connecting, also our understanding. Maybe the way we are communicating is not being entirely understood by whomever we are communicating to, because it's in a retrograde motion. So now retrograde is a time of reflection. Any planets, when it's in a retrograde, the energy associated with that planet, we are reflecting on that, because with Venus retrograde, we were reflecting on our love and money situation. Now with Mercury, we are reflecting on our communication style, our thinking process, how we think, what we think, how we communicate, how we connect, and all that. So with this Mercury in a retrograde motion, we are kind of setting the pace and kind of analyzing and reflecting on our thought process. So now in the sign of Virgo, which is a mutable sign, we may be kind of, doing one thing and planning another. So we may divert our energy, our mental energy into different things during this time. That may not completely be useful or productive during this time, because Virgo is a sign of productivity as well. So we are trying to be productive, more useful, be of more service with our mental energy, and wanting to do maybe too many things at the same time. And that is what we are kind of going within, taking it slow. When a planet is retrograde, we are taking it slow as well. We need to slow down a little bit, not rush into anything. So even if we are trying to do too many things at the same time, it's better to streamline, because Virgo is a sign of being productive, organizing our life, sorting things out, so that you feel less stressed. So when Mercury is in a direct motion, things are more fluent. So it's functioning how it's supposed to function. But in a retrograde motion, we are going more within our unconscious mind, unconscious realm, really going within for answers and looking at our internal structure during this time. The conscious mind, can be at rest during this time, with the unconscious mind more active during this time. And hence, articulating what we are thinking may be difficult. So articulation can be difficult with Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury retrograde also affects technology, the short journeys that you take, networking and all that. So things may not plan out initially as you want to, especially where your work matters are concerned, because Virgo is your work energy, work environment, your working condition, also your health matters. So, any habits or any, whatever habits you have, whatever routines you have, work schedule, it's very important to not do too many things at the same time. Sort out your schedule better in order to be more effective during this time with this Mercury retrograde energy until the 15th of September. Now, moving on to Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. Now, Jupiter will be turning retrograde on the 4th of September, and it will be retrograde until 31st of December. So the next 4 months, Jupiter is in a retrograde motion. Now, in the sign of Taurus, now Jupiter moved in the sign of Taurus in May and will be in the same sign for a whole year until next May 2024. But these 4 months, it's going to be in a retrograde. Now, Jupiter is our growth mindset. It's our expansion mindset. It's our moral codes. It's our principles, our belief systems, our wisdom, our intelligence, our learning potential, and all that. So when Jupiter goes in a retrograde motion, all these energies associated with Jupiter, all these themes associated with Jupiter takes a backspin. So here what happens is there's an element of restraint. The growth that we were expecting may slow down. So you have to go back to your chart and look at where Taurus sign sits in your chart, and that house matter may slow down a little bit. The growth that you want, the growth that you were expecting or working towards, there may be a kind of a withdrawal kind of energy in that area. Maybe you are planning something or redoing your plan, or reworking on your plan. There's a kind of a holding back energy with this retrograde Jupiter. Now, Jupiter brings optimism, enthusiasm. All these can be a little bit more restrained. And restraint doesn't mean nothing is happening. Restraint does not mean that, because a retrograde planet is all about going in a self-reflective state of mind. So when things are not functioning in a physical way, doesn't mean it's not moving forward. What you're doing during this time is you're slowing down your momentum. It does not mean you're coming to a standstill. You're just slowing down your momentum because you're thinking, you're reworking your plan, and you're actually connecting with what is good for you. Because the last few months when Jupiter moved in the sign of Taurus, there's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of moving forward energy, plans, growth plans, expansion, optimism, enthusiasm, and all that. Sky's the limit with Jupiter. But in a retrograde motion, we are kind of reworking our plan and kind of going back to the drawing board and looking at what works and what does not work, and eliminating what doesn't work and focusing on what works for us, what is good for us. And that's how you can move forward with this Jupiter retrograde energy. So the next 4 months is going to be mainly focused on reworking your plans. And there's definitely need for practical reflection on any projects that you're working with this Jupiter retrograde. Now, moving on to Saturn. Now, Saturn has been retrograde since the 17th of June and will be retrograde until the 4th of November. So in the month of September, it is in a retrograde motion in the sign of Pisces. So go back to your natal chart and just look where the Pisces sign sits in your chart. And that's the area that will be affected. Now we are well into the Saturn retrograde energy. We're already feeling it because it started in June. Now, obviously, in the month of September, the energy continues, this retrograde energy of, going inward. Now, Saturn is our structures in life. It shapes the reality. It builds the reality. Now, in a retrograde motion, what happens is all these developments, whatever we are trying to build, the structures in our life, the systems in our life and all that, all these are internalized. It's in a self-reflective mode, and thus it can feel as if it's immobile. Things are not moving forward. So if you started something before Saturn went in a retrograde motion, it may feel that, things have come to a standstill. Maybe you wanted to work on something, pursue something, or you were working on something, but it kind of, on the 17th of June, it kind of feels immobilized, it's not moving forward. What you're doing during this time, you're looking at the structures in your life, your own structures, your own limitations, and you're reflecting on those and reworking on those. So just like Jupiter retrograde, you're working on the projects and, all those things and reworking and really kind of connecting with what's good for us going forward. Same is with Saturn. We're looking at our structures, the limitations that we have, and really kind of going within to release these emotional baggages, release these barriers and burdens in order to move forward, because Saturn is a practical, cautious energy. It's very logical, very kind of it's a karmic energy. Saturn is a karmic planet. So it's very much based on what you do, your karma in life, what you do on a daily basis. So here, definitely what you're doing is you're reevaluating and internalizing all the Saturn energy. Now, in the sign of Pisces, Saturn becomes a little bit more goal-oriented, more actionable in Pisces matters. Now, Pisces is a sign of, spirituality. It's more based on spiritual well-being. It's compassion. It's an intuitive sign. So here, what Saturn does is it brings some sort of structure to the Pisces house that occupies in your chart and gives structure. So during this retrograde, it's what we can do is internalize that house matter. And if something has stuck, release those subconscious barriers and move forward. Now, moving on to the transpersonal planets, namely Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So now with the transpersonal planets, because they are retrograde most of the year, like almost half of the year, the effect is not as personally felt as the other planets. Now, the orbit of the transpersonal planets are quite far out, so they move very slowly, and hence, it's a retrograde half the year. So the energy is not felt personally. It's only felt more on a collective level or generational. These are generational planets because it stays in the same sign for a very long period of time. Now, the effect of these generational transpersonal planets is not felt personally unless it makes contact with your natal planet. So then you feel the effect. personally as well. Now, with the transit, when it's transiting and when it's in a retrograde motion, now I'm talking about the month of September 2023, because these three planets, all these three transpersonal planets, will be in a retrograde motion in the month of September. Now, the effect of these three will be felt collectively, most definitely, because all three are retrograde at the same time. Now, Uranus will turn retrograde on the 29th of August and until next year, January 2024. And Neptune and Pluto are already in a retrograde motion. Now, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, so it turns retrograde in the sign of Taurus. And Neptune is in the sign of Pisces since 2012, and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn since 2008. But it's exiting Capricorn this year. It already exited in end of March 2023, but it kind of retrograded back in the sign of Capricorn in June. Now it is in the sign of Capricorn currently and will be there until in a retrograde motion. So it will leave the sign of Capricorn entirely in the month of January, but the retrograde motion will be until 11th of October. So Pluto is in a retrograde motion until 11th of October, and Neptune will be in a retrograde motion until 6th of December. So in the month of September, these three planets are making an impact on our collective conscience. Now, Uranus in the sign of Taurus is bringing these changes, sharp changes, sudden awakenings, shifting the energy, even in a very experimental, in a very unpredictable manner, in matters related to the sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus is our money sign. It's related to wealth, your possessions, money matters, your self-earned money. It's your value system, your sense of self-worth and all that. So whenever Taurus sign sits in your chart, it's really turning everything, upside down and, bringing these changes, unpredictable changes as well. So your sense of self-worth, your money matters, all these, your value system, all that are going through change, are going through kind of a awakening. Now, when it turns retrograde, what happens is it's kind of taking us back and reconnecting us to things that we may feel or we may have been cut off from. Now, you need to see where your Taurus sign sits, matters that you may have, desensitized yourself from. You're going back to those energies and, dealing with those aspects again. Now, Uranus is not a soft energy. It's kind of like an alarm clock. It wakes you up. So this is what you are experiencing, in the Taurus house. So reconnecting with the aspect that you left behind, and reflecting on those. And this is more like on a collective. So if you see collectively, we are rethinking our value system. We are rethinking how to manage money, our wealth creation, how to, create more wealth, be more self-reliant. Our sense of self-worth is changing. Our old perception of our own value system, our sense of worth is getting a rude awakening. It's waking you up to move, in order to move forward. So this is going to be the energy of Uranus for the next few months until January, until the end of January 2024. So anything that is left dormant in the Taurus house will get a rude awakening, and you'll have to move things forward. Otherwise, Uranus will do it for you. Now, moving on from Uranus, there is Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Now, Neptune has been in the same sign since 2012 and will be in the same sign until, next few more years, until 2025. So here again, during the month of September, it's in a retrograde motion. Now, Neptune turned retrograde on the 30th of June and will be in a retrograde motion until 6th of December. Now, Neptune is our spirituality. It connects with our compassionate side, our subconscious side, our unconscious side as well. Neptune deals with the non-physical aspect of life. Now, Neptune in Pisces can make things more blurry. Now, Pisces is already a kind of a nebulous sign. It's deals with the unconscious, subconscious. It's not physical again, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So both Pisces and Neptune have the same energy. So the effect of these two together, you can feel as if there's an impracticality associated with this energy on a real associated with this energy. Can be a confusion or delusion, or things are not clear. It's fuzzy, hazy, and just things are not practical, or your focus on the Pisces matter, wherever Pisces sign is in your natal chart, that matter. There is lack of practicality in those matters. Now, Saturn moved in the month of March, so it's kind of bringing some relief from this Neptune energy and bringing some sort of practicality to your Pisces house. But in the month of September, both the planets, Neptune and Saturn, both will be in a retrograde motion. So collectively, what Neptune is doing in Pisces is more focus on spirituality. Now, the flip side of this is that there can be too much, there can be delusion attached to it. We may be withdrawing from practical matters a bit too much, and really depending or relying, over reliance on spirituality and unconscious, subconscious matters, and things that are not practical or stable or physical. So we may not be connecting with that. We may be moving away from that a lot. Now, Saturn is going to bring that stability in Pisces matter. Now, in the month of September, Neptune is in a retrograde motion. So what happens is, the way Neptune functions when it's in a direct motion, it's not going to function in the same way. So almost kind of going in the opposite direction. So what happens here is your past perception, your past attitude, your behavior, if it has been confusing or not connected with spirituality, and impractical approach, also kind of self-deceiving kind of approach, if you have been taking that in the past, that will be cleared out, that may be cleared out. Now, Saturn is in a retrograde as well, so it is kind of helping you internalize the Pisces matter. And with this Neptune as well, your perception, old perceptions, especially if it's based on impracticality, it will be, this is a good opportunity to, release them, because you can get a better understanding, more clearer understanding of, wherever the Pisces sign is. So it kind of dissolves the boundaries of the known and the unknown, the conscious and the unconscious, the physical and the spiritual. So it kind of dissolves the boundaries, blurs the boundaries. So this is a good time to look at your old, your past patterns as well, your past emotional patterns, subconscious patterns that may be holding you back. So this is a good time to get a clearer understanding of what to expect going forward, and how you can work on those to release those old patterns. Now, moving on from Neptune, there's Pluto in the sign of Capricorn in a retrograde motion in the month of September. Now, Pluto turned retrograde on the 1st of May and will be in a retrograde motion on the 11th of October. So it is in the last few degrees of Capricorns. Now, collectively, it's such a crucial energy, because when Pluto moved in the sign of Capricorn in 2008, there was a big financial crunch, there was a recession. Many of the big banks, organizations, system structure, kind of, it broke down. And that had a ripple effect on the collective, on the people, on the money matters, on our own internal structure as well. Our property matters, our money matters, just generally everything was affected. Now, Capricorn is a sign of structure, it's a sign of systems, it's a sign of organization. All those things, authority figure, governments, all that, banks and all that. So there's such a transformation happening, has happened already. We are still in that energy towards the tail end, and then it moves in the sign of Aquarius, which will kind of continue this energy of Capricorn to Aquarius. Both are Saturn ruled signs, so Saturn is structure. Now it will be a different kind of structure, more maybe based on technology, on group mentality, on other Aquarius matters. So all that is going to continue. It doesn't mean that as soon as Pluto leaves Capricorn, the job is done. No, it's not a wrap yet. It's going to continue. And now the effect will be more felt on the collective, because Aquarius is the sign of the collective. It's a sign of people. Capricorn is a sign of the hierarchy. It's a sign of people on the top. And Aquarius is the sign of the collective. So the energy is definitely shifting, and the power is shifting from people on the top to power to the people. It's going to take time. It's not going to be happening very quickly. It's a slow transition, but we are getting there. Now Pluto in Capricorn in the month of September in a retrograde motion. Now we are already well into this Pluto retrograde, so we have already felt this abrupt separation from past, and with this last degrees of Capricorn, there's probably some kind of abrupt end to any past structures, last 15 years, or even more if, things have been longer than that. But definitely last 15 years, since 2008, if there has been any structures in your life, that is dissolving, that's, transforming, that's breaking down. Pluto is all about death and rebirth. And in Capricorn, it's really putting an end to the structures in our life. And this structure doesn't have to be physical structure. It can be, emotional structures, relationship related structures. It can be money related structures. It can be, any structure that keeps you trapped. Pluto is the energy of crisis. It's the energy of trauma. It's the energy of keeping you trapped in the netherworld. So it's kind of is releasing you from that energy. You're feeling untrapped. And this separation can be a kind of a complete transformation from what was in the past to what's going to be in the future. So here the Pluto retrograde is a great opportunity to dig deeper and deeper within our own subconscious, within our own self, and bring to light, our own goodness, our own energy, being reborn. So any aspect of our subconscious or our internal nature that was kept secluded from our own self, Pluto is going to dredge it all out, is going to dig it all out. So this is a very transformative time, and there can be sudden separation endings in order to bring that transformation going forward. So September is month of retrograde, and the energy is quite strong. It's in a very self-reflective mode. It's going within our unconscious self and dealing with our issues, obviously related to the house matters, wherever these planets are transiting in your chart. So you're going, so you're really digging deeper and resolving any past energies during this time. Now, obviously, you need to see if any of these planets in a retrograde motion makes contact with your personal planets and also your nodes. If it's making a connection with your nodes, you're going to feel that energy as well. So obviously with the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and the North Node and South Node. So a retrograde planet making contact with these energies, and also your angles. So you have to look at the house matter, your angles, and your planets. If it's making an impact, it will bring some sort of slowing down energy, and slowing down in order to self-reflect and connect with what's good for you going forward. So it's going to be a great month, and I wish you all best of luck and best wishes from my side to all of you, and do connect with what's best for you. Thank you.